Thomas, thank you so much for coming on to Startup Zero today. I'm really interested in learning more about your background. You've been involved with computers ever since there were computers, it sounds like. So I'm really interested in learning that story with you. But introduce yourself. Tell us a little bit about your background.
Well, at least since it was microcomputers, the first microcomputer processor, the first 8-bit processor, I purchased from US in a box, and you have to solder everything to build it yourself. It was I read about it in Popular Electronics, 1976, I think. So I built my first computers from the mid 70s to in the end of the 70s, and done my first programming. You have to write everything manually, and I have a piece of my first code, as I show you here. This is on a teletype. It's actually the only thing I have left from that area. This is a bootloader for the MITS Basic. That I have to modify to be able to run the basic on an 8-inch floppy disk, as you can buy from Extra. Yep. So and at that time we didn't buy software, we traded software. So I traded this for a disk that I got from Bill Gates at that time. It's an 8-inch MITS Basic disk from the company Micro-Soft. Really cool. It actually works still. It still works. Really good stuff. But I'm a lousy programmer. I don't have I'm not a calm person. I'm always hungry. I always want to do next things, and always I can see rather far ahead. And I really like that. So I didn't have the calmness to sit and just be programmer. I was just super interested in new tech and really wanted to build companies, and that was my first company I ever built was a computer company. That was when I moved from Sweden to Ireland, to Dublin, and I think I immediately dropped out of Trinity College, a really famous college, because I met a nice guy and we started to decide to build S100 computers and sell them commercially. So we did that in his kitchen. And started building computers. Then I got back again and studied a little bit at the Chalmers University of Technology and the Gothenburg University, various things, drop out of most of the things. I think I have an exam in physics, theoretical physics. I really want to be a physicist. But my skill set was not in theoretical physics. It was more in engaging people, getting a lot of people to help me with difficult quests, difficult things that I wanted to do. I really didn't specify that it was companies. I was most interested in doing it. I was interested in building a supercomputer, and I got a lot of people helping me to build a supercomputer. They helped me for free because I basically didn't have any cash. So I got some old computers, a Siemens 128-bit supercomputer that was used to build a strike fighter and military aircraft. And I did a lot of inventions on different technologies. And I always kind of loved technologies and loved science more than anything. And that's my biggest sorrow in life, that I didn't get married to science. No Nobel Prize, no PhD. Just a lot of companies that I kind of started, and I like to build things.
But in all due respect to science, you've done some good work in business as well. You've had a couple of successes. One company, I think, going IPO. Tell us a little bit about those success stories and how you sort of scaled those companies up.
The IPO company was called Blue Labs. And it was a company that I worked with in the end of 99, and we took it to market at exactly the timing of the crash, year 2000. So it was super interesting. But also I had the record of sales I was rather intensive in sales in the 90s, so I had a lot of records in software sales. But Blue Labs was, the idea was that IP would move into products, and we wanted to build so that every product had its own service web page. I don't know if you remember, but in the 90s, it was a lot of, it was really an internet boom. And we thought that every product on the planet should have its own web page, its own IP address, and services built to it. So that was kind of the main thing about that company, Blue Labs. It was really great fun. It was a super early Internet of Things company, a little bit before its time. So now the stuff that we did then, I invented that door where you could talk to on your smartphone. It was called, I forgot what the first phone was called. It was called, I forgot it. It was a very clumsy phone anyway. But you can get a video feed on the screen and things.
Right. So almost like Ring really and Ring before there was a Ring doorbell.
You could talk to the person on the other side of the door, and we had a lot of different built-in technologies. I worked with Volvo, so we was really early on positioning the car in case of an accident. As you know, Volvo is a very safe car kind of brand, so we were really early on that. And build the diagnostics tool for the VC bus systems for cars and stuff. So that was really, really fun. But all my life my drive is to improve things. I really love building things.
Right.
And it's no different building a company and building revenues from building something technically complicated. It's the feeling you get by improving something during the day you have. In the end of the day, things are better than they were in the morning. That's really important for me, that I end the days better than I started the days every day. That is kind of what I really enjoy. I've been doing a lot of things. I have the world record, by the way, in rockets, because I decided to build my own moon program. I wanted to land on the moon privately. So I started that in a really big style when I was just 10 years old. That's a little bit how I got into computers, because I really needed a supercomputer to do all the calculations. So I got this massive supercomputer. It was a semi-truck with lots. It was enormously big. We had to have it in a gymnastic hall.
Oh, wow.
The whole thing. Yeah, and I got it from the military forces. They used it to design these aircrafts. So it was a little bit too old. But then I got into building computers, by the way. Sorry, I'm jumping a little bit.
No, this is good. Very interesting background.
Thanks. I founded 6 companies, sold 3 of them. Was working on the Blue Labs IPO, that one. Shut down a few companies, but in different areas. It's been really, really interesting.
Fantastic. So now, just coming back to today and the company you're building today, search has been an issue since the beginning, right? Since we started creating folders and files on computers. Tell us about the problem that you're seeing, and what the initial vision is to develop that solution.
Well, the reason for this company isn't that I wanted to start a new company. It was that I had a problem that I actually needed solving, and that problem was I had an assignment from the Swedish government to increase sales, basically, within the technology sector by improving for companies to collaborate, industry collaboration. And the problem that I faced, it was a true surprise. I had no idea it was so difficult. It was that people from within an organization like Ericsson, the telecom company, for example, or Volvo, the car company, they had completely different pictures of what stuff should be called. And they couldn't search in an effective way because basically they didn't know what keywords to key into when searching. They had different backgrounds. They were not all with the same background from exactly the same preference in taxonomy. So they used different words for the same thing. And that was increased. That problem was increased by 10 if you mixed academic people with people that was actually kind of working on the floor building things. They had completely different vocabulary for things. So it was super difficult. And I found out that there is only two ways to find information in computers, basically. One is to look at a semi-physical space. That is, for example, a folder that we call it a folder on a server, but it can be also called an archive or a library in SharePoint, something like that. And node, a specific area where you look for information. And as humans, we tend to build free structures of information or subdivide information in subcategories. I call that taxonomy. That is the order of things. I mean, you can build a very detailed taxonomy. And the way we manage that is to look into folders. The other way to find information is to index it. That is to have a crawler to read through all the files, to build a hashtag index of all the keywords. And then when you search through the hashtags, and you have pointers that point to the actual files and tell you, okay, these files match the search criteria. But if you, for example, if someone use a word like invention, for example, as we used previously, and I search for patent, the search engine won't understand that patent is the same thing as invention. It doesn't understand that. It's impossible for that to understand that. And I have thousands of cases where I needed to build so that they could understand that this is the same thing as this. And when I write Pluto, I don't mean the cartoon Pluto, I mean the planet Pluto. It's super difficult to understand this.
Right.
And it basically didn't work. So it was kind of a failure. But in this failure, I also had an understanding, an epiphany, a great idea. And when I was working on this, I was actually a lobbyist for the Swedish industry, but when I was working on this collaboration project, I noticed that all the CEOs, all the managers, all the people that I met, they like to have like world maps or maps on the walls, and they really understand maps really easy. And they never find anything in the mailbox or on the server. That was kind of very bad areas for them. And I read somewhere in a book that the human brain is really designed to understand pictures real fast. We understand the silhouette of a tiger and jumps in a tree when we see the tiger. We don't kind of count the teeth on the tiger. We just react real fast. Right. That's the kind of genes that actually live today. So our brain is hardwired, hard designed to find food in forests, avoid dangerous animals, and know where to live. It builds a map of information on how we should navigate. That is very natural for the brain. If you read a book, for example, the brain automatically paints maps in the mind of what it looks like in the book and the colors of the houses and people and scenarios and everything. And you remember these pictures. You don't remember the actual text like a computer. And a computer just reads the text and understands the text in rows and columns. That's not how we humans work. Unfortunately, all the data systems, and I mean every data system today, doesn't matter if it's from Apple or Google or Microsoft or IBM, it's always text-based. You have names of folders, text in files, and index, hashtag, and names on everywhere, basically. This is not how the brain works. So I thought that if I liked mind maps. And when I painted the structure of information on mind map, everybody understood it. So I thought, if I can write an algorithm that reads the content of the computers and automatically on screen paints a mind map of everything in the computer so that you see a map of everything. And then I use the Google search, the index of the search, and highlight the search hits in the map. And then make this map super interactive so I can move things around and improve the structure of information. Then it would be super easy to find it. So I made the first test and everybody loved it. It was everybody in all the industries I sold to really loved it. And they said that finding information in ContentMap, as I become to call it now, I didn't call it that originally, it was between 3.5 and 10 times easier than finding it in with search or like in Explorer or Finder or SharePoint or Dropbox or Google Drive or Box, or anywhere where you have information. So that's when I decided to build a SaaS product that reads not only one hard drive as I did from the beginning, but the software is super suitable to connect to everything that you have in your digital world. All SaaS services, it's like you can connect to Teams, to SharePoint, to OneDrive, to Dropbox, to Box, to Google Drive, to Slack, to WhatsApp, to Telegram, and I don't know how many of these I use. I think I use at least 10 different communication tools with different people. In a normal industry company or a normal company, up to 300 different places can exist where you store information. Oh, wow. And I connect all these into one map where you can find information very, very fast. And the use case scenario, as we have today, when people use ContentMap, is to find information real fast and very, very precise. You find exactly right information. Right. It's a danger to find the wrong version of information or find a copy of information that someone has edited, or not finding the right information, but think yet that you have the right information. So we improve that. We avoid these mistakes. We speed up finding information, and we make it super easy to organize the information. Right. This is for the users that use ContentMap on an everyday basis. Then we sell ContentMap specifically for heads of departments, or in small companies, the management group or the C-level executives, to improve structure of information, to set and adjust user permissions real fast if they find that someone is leaving the company or they need to check who actually has access to things, and to be sure that they don't have any sensitive information in the wrong places. This is the number one source of cyber threats, is that a bad information hygiene. You can put sensitive information in the wrong places and they can leak. It is, before the pandemic, it is about 40% of all cyber attacks come from within the owner organization with credentials. And those are more dangerous because that's trusted people that by accident or by intent spread or misuse information. Mm-hmm. But since the pandemic, when we are working remotely, this problem is much bigger. We don't have a grasp on how big it is today, but it is bigger. The risk of cyber threats is much larger today than it was 2 years ago. Right. This is really interesting. I want to just take a minute to summarize the product that you're laying out for us, and people who've seen the pitch deck or who have seen the product demo will understand this. Right now, we go through our files and folders, one at a time, and it's a very narrow focus. And when we search, we're really looking into those tags, and so it's either names or tags that we're searching for. You're creating a map of all of the data and then trying to get to the information much faster. But at the same time, you can see the entire structure of your database or of your, it might be your computer system, it might be Slack, it might be WhatsApp, it might be a ton of other resources. You're absolutely right. I'm thinking through,
8 different ways to communicate with people on my computer right now that I use. So it's bringing all of that information together, but also
Right.
from a company perspective, you're limiting access if necessary. You're restricting access to sensitive information. So you're in a way protecting yourself as well. Um,
Yes.
tell me, you shared this demo with the DoD, Department of Defense, and few other industry sort of leaders. Tell me what the feedback has been on this type of visualization of data.
Yeah. From the DoD, we spoke with people that are in charge of information, and they are also in the field. They use the word helicopter view, and they said that up until now, we are standing in the bushes, in the wood, just seeing trees. And that's a little bit what you do. When you stand in a folder, it's just like a room in a house. And you see just what's in this room, right? And you see doors to other folders, and you could go in through those doors. But what we invented is that you can lift the room. If every storage space that you have, all of this 300 is a house. We lift off the roofs of the houses and look down into all the rooms at once and search into all the rooms at once. So we have our search simultaneously SharePoint and WhatsApp and Teams and Slack and Google Drive and Dropbox and Box and your hard drive and your NAS and your company server at the same time.
Right.
And show you where all the information are. And you can just drag and drop in between the rooms. So this DoD guy that was a 4-star something, he said that, guys, you have invented a helicopter. It's a chopper. I mean, we've been going to war on foot, and you're selling us a chopper. So we buy it. No doubt about it, because the area where we're fighting now is the information area. And if you can give us a helicopter view of all our strategic information, that's gold. That's absolutely gold. And you can fly over the information. The way one of our patents, the approved patent, is about how we can connect to a vast amount of information without the map getting really crowded. And that is how we do it progressively. We have patented that when we close an area, I think I showed it real fast for you, how you can hover and you get a closing button, and then this area collapses. But still it remains the coordinates of how you move the information, and you can also color code the map and everything.
Right.
But we can connect to, the biggest test we've done is 200 million documents. And that was in a series of nuclear power plants in Germany on the one, I think it is the biggest energy actor in Northern Europe, Vattenfall. They are really big on energy, and they have vast amount of information. Another one was really big is General Motors. They also had a lot of information, and they needed it in a specific time-sensitive case when they needed to make an audit to review and remove sensitive information from servers really fast.
Very interesting.
So we can look at really, really big amounts of information on many different storage places and make a simultaneous search on everything. And it's, I think it's really, really good thing. So it's no doubt about that the market are there, and we have interesting but complex go-to-market strategy that we need to have a really sharp strategy. We need to have high speed to get out on this market. We have a really, really competitive product. Fantastic. And it is a very hot area, future of work, of course, and it's also a crowded space. So it's not like but I didn't choose this. I just designed the best possible solution, and it was scalable for all industry companies. Then I just decided that I want to scale this. I want this to be as big as it, and good as it can be, really.
Fantastic. So tell me where you are today. You have as obviously you have a product in the market right now.
Yeah.
Do you have, you mentioned DoD, you mentioned GM. Are these clients, paid clients using product right now, or are they on trial? Tell us about where you are with that go-to-market strategy right now.
Today we are, of course, we're developing sales at the same time as we're developing the next part of the product and also the next part of the technology. So you have to do all these things simultaneously. Yep. You can't just stop one of them and just do the other.
Right.
So we are selling to parts of big companies. We're not rolling out massively, but our go-to-market strategy is to scale revenues within larger organizations together with together with content services. So we will sell services together with partners to main companies to be a high-rated vendor, to be sure that we have success within the big companies and we can expand within the company. The technology is absolutely needed and it's absolutely best in class, but to be sure that we have a really good ranking or rating, it's preferably to sell services also, and we can also make a lot of money on that.
Right.
That is specific services like maintaining structure of information. That is, it is the most important success factor today. Absolutely it is. If you can't find your information, you're in problem. And this is becoming more and more difficult every day. We're starting with small areas and tried to scale. We both sell to small companies where we make a big rollout. Obviously, we're not rolling out to the whole GM, and obviously, we also, for example, with the DoD, we need to build a special adoption. They have special rules to follow. You have to follow. I think it is called Roadmap 1. No, I forgot the name of it. It's a framework provided by the U.S. Air Force. We need to Platform 1. It's called Platform 1.
So you have to follow that.
Yeah. There's one thing that I haven't mentioned yet that is also profoundly important, that is almost as important as everything we have said today, and that is the dimension of time. We haven't been talking about time, but we have two different kinds of information. First, I would say that we have structured information and unstructured information, but that's kind of obvious. Some information or in terms of communication, like a mail, for example, or messaging or group chats in Teams, for example. These are a rather quick information, but they can be very important. Then you have information for example, in files, in Word documents that are not changing that fast. But when you get a message or a mail, normally your mail program or your messaging program notifies you that information has come, or you have new information, or you get somehow alerted about that this information is important for you.
Right.
In some vendors like Dropbox, for example, you can see last changed information, or if someone make a change in a file that was stored in Dropbox, Dropbox will notify you. So they have an API for this. But when you have 300 different channels of information, it will be very difficult for you to know when information has changed. And this will also be absolutely vital in our ever complex future.
Right.
So that we will provide, or today we provide an area where you get one notification for all the different channels that you have. So if someone sends you something in Slack, for example, or a mail or a text SMS or any other messaging, or if someone change a document on your hard drive, or sorry, on your company server, or in SharePoint, or in Dropbox, you will have notified changed information at the same place. On a map, it will light up, this information has changed. And ContentMap can retract changed information over a timeline. I didn't have time to show you that, but it's a really, really neat timeline where you can just go back in time and you see where information has been moved. And this is to backtrack if information gets lost, and that happens very, very often. When many people share information, someone can lose a file somewhere or move something, and then the other people don't know where it went. It was in this folder right now somewhere else. I don't know where this information went. Or someone goes in and create a new version of a Word document, for example, and you don't check this. That is when you can have like big problems that I mentioned for you before.
Yeah, absolutely.
I experienced in some industry projects. So for corporations, this is super important.
Absolutely. So I think I have a pretty good sense of where you are. What's the hope for the next year or so? What are you hoping to develop next or achieve next?
Okay, this is different areas. On the sales side, we want to go to round A. Financial side. Round A within 12 months from now. Hopefully, maybe within 10 months. We need to fuel up rather intensively in round A. So we need to prep and prepare for that right now and have some really good numbers, really good monthly recurring revenues, and a really good annual recurring revenue in the end of this year. It must be over $2 million, obviously. We sold $1 million so far for the first 30 industry companies that we sold to. So hopefully we will go to a much higher number. Of course, when we do this financial forecast, we can't count in big projects like Department of Defense. That's kind of a separate animal that doesn't come into this equation because it's
much longer sales cycle.
Longer sales cycle, much more bucks, and they have to pay for the development and pay for a pilot and pay for special tailoring and a lot of different. So that's kind of a completely separate thing. Still our company, of course. So it's still same shareholder, but you know they're too big to be in the same sales funnel as like 500 people company. That's a different thing. On the development side, we will build the clients in Electron to make them much more slim, a little bit on the same architecture as you build Chrome or Edge, the Microsoft or Google browsers. So, and that's the same technology as you build the Slack application, the Dropbox application, or the Google Drive application. It's built on basically the same framework. So, and this is to facilitate our very slim collaboration software as software as a service collaboration tool. Today we are in finding information, future of work. We find information better and more precise than anybody else, basically. But we will want to move into the collaboration space to be able to, on the same map surface, merge all the collaboration tools that are popping up now, because it's a really big market of collaboration vendors that wants to get in here. It's like Zoom, Asana, a lot of different that kind of have portfolios that become more and more similar. So we build connector to this and we leverage these ecosystems. Today, we leverage the Microsoft ecosystem, the Google, Dropbox, Box, as I mentioned, and the Apple, of course, the iCloud. So we make those more useful and be able to communicate in between them. And we add absolutely needed functionality to those systems.
Fantastic.
But there's a whole group of new collaboration tools that are coming to market, and we need to integrate with those also, so that we will be the way we can integrate different communication collaboration tools and also have them on the same surface with the same notifying. So if I write a text, for example, on on this on the map surface. I didn't have time to show you that, and we have a big library of pictures and colors and stuff on the map surface. It will kick through for everybody that has the same content, so it will be very, very efficient way of communicating, but using the other already existing collaboration tools.
Fantastic. So it really seems like by bringing all of these sources together under one umbrella, it almost seems like you're building an operating system, which makes it easy to interact with a lot of these things. Maybe that's not right. Maybe I'm putting words in your mouth, but what's the brand vision? What's the 3 to 5 year vision?
Think of it that way. No, well, operating systems, is basically just built to find information on sectors on hard drives originally, but it's a little bit like a broker. Yeah, you can say like a broker. We don't want to fight these systems. We just want to leverage them and improve them. But the way we apply federated learning on the feedback loop that we can have on the visual surface, because what we are sure about that the human brain will not change for 1,000 years. It will take 1,000 years for us to move from liking world maps, seed charts, and pictures to rows and columns. That will not happen when we are alive. We are built to understand maps and pictures, basically. So we're sure about that. We're absolutely sure about that. We are right about that. And that's just how it is, actually. We will not be able to change it. But how we present it, that is where we want to develop and get out on the market. We have a really good implementation now, but we have a lot of plans on how to become stronger on that, particularly when it comes to AI and deep federated learning, because the map surface is perfect for the feedback loop that is very, very important for training an AI. If you can't train it, it's not really good. And if you train it on a too big set of data, the unevenness of your local data will drown in the too large amount of data. So our search engine use, of course, big data experiences as we can import them into the search system. But also it makes, if someone in your company constantly misspells a word, or have a preference of using a specific word that really likes a word. I mean, someone in the company may be like, I don't know which word, say invention that we used before. It uses invention everywhere. Then the AI learns that, okay, in this specific set of data, that means this, so that you can have smarter search. Now, this information, as it's applied by, for example, Google advertising machine learning, they have the best engine, the best advertising agency on the planet. There's nothing as good as that. And second best is probably YouTube or something. And they were like really, really, really good, but only when it comes to commercial data, not when it comes to enterprise data. There we are absolutely, we will win. I'm 100% sure about that.
So that's the idea for the next 5 years, to really win that data game.
Yeah. It is enterprise B2B that we are focusing on. Then we have customers, of course, buying as individuals, knowledge workers, but they are bringing the device to work, and that is how we gain new tracks into corporations.
Fantastic. Tomas, thank you so much for sharing your entire story and the vision for this company with us. I really enjoyed the conversation. I think you're doing something very innovative, and I think if people see your product demo, I think they'll get a much better sense of what we were just talking about, and the product you're developing. So thank you so much for coming on today. I really appreciated the conversation.
Great. Thank you so much. Take care now. See you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.